Yeah, morning guys. I'm back on this '08 Suburban. Um, I'm going to go ahead and replace that oil sending unit, which is that I think it's P0523, showing high voltage issue or whatever it is, and the gauge is reading zero. If you've seen my other videos, you may know what I'm talking about. Still a bit dejected on some of the things that's happened. I'm not seeing how I'm going to keep this thing on budget right now, the way everything is going, and so I'm not really sure how these videos are going to play out on this. I really had a good idea and a good plan, and I drove the thing, 40 miles or 50 miles or whatever it was. I think it was even more than that, and realized that there was just a handful of little things that was wrong with it, and I thought they would be easy enough to repair. But whether I put the videos out or not on the throttle body, I learned something very interesting. I have replaced several of the Gen 3 drive-by-wire throttle bodies before and never had any trouble with them at all. And I pulled, if you watch the '07 Yukon video where I pulled the intake manifold off to replace an injector in that oil sending unit, I put it all back together and didn't have any issues. Probably because I didn't move the throttle blade. But when I pulled this throttle body off and cleaned it yesterday, boy, this thing was acting really goofy, and I started doing investigating on it, and I wished I'd done a little more before I just jumped into it, because sometimes your Saturday afternoon mechanics can bite you in the butt, and this is what happened here. Almost all of the videos I've seen require some type of a like a relearn, and you have to have a specialized tool for that. You actually have to have a way to hook up to the computer through the OBD port and tell it to relearn the throttle, and it will do it. You go through some prompts, I guess, and boom, it's relearns itself. Now here's the deal. I was told it will relearn itself, but unfortunately this thing is scary to drive. If this is your only mode of transportation, it's probably not a good idea to just grab that and tear that apart and then expect it to relearn itself in a short amount of time. I've heard as short as 50 miles and as long as 200 miles of driving before this thing has relearned itself. I drove it 40 miles yesterday, and unfortunately it was going home time for everybody who was at work, so I was very limited on how many times I could decelerate and stop. I finally found a road, and I did it a few times. It's better, but it's not right. My code reader actually has the ability to go into live data. I was watching the TPS, the whole throttle position, the whole time, and going down the road, depends on the load, was anywhere from 30 to 40%. But when you let off of it at 70 miles an hour, it wouldn't drop below 29, and once you got below 65, it would sometimes drop to like 28.7 or whatever it was. But when you would come down to a stop, the thing was trying to push you through the intersection. And when you finally come to a complete stop, it finally would drop down to 20. It would try to be 23, and then it would jump to 26, and you could actually kind of feel it. And I think it's because it was shifting gears, it was downshifting as you're slowing down. And then when you come down to a complete stop, it would finally drop. Well, after driving it for a while, I'm only talking drop to like 20. After I did that several times, I got it down to a complete stop would be 18.8. And I think if I keep driving it and stop and go and stuff like that, I think it would be okay. But if you sit here, the cold start was fine, and it idled a little fast, but it didn't go out of sight. But if you sit here for just a second and you give it a little rev in neutral, it goes right to 3,000. It will not go off of that until you shut it off. So live and learn. These do not appear to have their own computer, which the Gen 3s did, and I assume that must have self-learned itself, because like I said, that Malibu next to me has an '03 Tahoe engine in it with drive-by-wire, and I've replaced that throttle body and pulled that wire harness on that thing probably 600 times while I was trying to diagnose its problem before I finally replaced the actual lead to it, and I've had no trouble with it since. But never one time did it act like this. So yeah, I really thought I could pull that off, and I'm saying it will learn itself eventually. This is not my only mode of transportation, which is good, but if it's your only one, man, I'm telling you, that probably wasn't very smart. Well, what I'm going to try to do is replace the oil sending unit, and these are not easy to get to on the Gen 4s. Ran into this with that 07. So I'm going to attempt to do it. I'm probably not going to be happy with it, but my head's going to be in the way. So let me move you just a little bit. What I've got is it's back there hidden where you're not going to be able to see it. That's a guarantee. So all I've got to do is move a bunch of stuff out of the way. So I'm going to take that's the vacuum poured off of the master cylinder or brake booster. I'm going to get it out of the way, and then there's this is part of the PCV system. That's that tube that was actually cracked on that 07. And then there's I'll try to get it out of there. I'm not even sure I can get on this thing and get it out, but I'm going to attempt. This is a sort of on it, but not good enough. It's that, I'm not really sure why they're on here. They're on the Gen 3s also. It's a piece of metal that's on the back of the head, bolted to the head. It's like right behind the fuel rail, and I'm sure it's there for a reason, but I'm not sure what it is. Oh my goodness. Movement. Some of my other reason I'm not real happy about this setup is you always run that risk when you buy something used, and I've said this in the past, you know, I don't pay that much for them because I always figure the worst case scenario, and this is kind of turning into that too, it appears. I've already used a quart of antifreeze. I put a quart in it this morning, so she's either got a cracked head or she's got a head gasket bad. I haven't looked into these Gen 4. I'll have to look at what casting this head is. You know, if it's just used a quart every 500 miles, it wouldn't bother me so bad. But 150, that's a lot of antifreeze. And I parked it in the garage last night, let her sit overnight, and there's not a drip on the ground anywhere. So I'm not seeing it leaking anywhere. And with 200,000 miles, you know, I don't know how it's took care of. And then you run that risk of buying used, you know, and I've said that before, like I said. And so we will probably be investigating that. I would rather replace this sending unit without pulling the intake if I could do it. Pulling the intake is not hard, and I have another set of gaskets for it left over from another project. I would just rather not do it if I could help it. So get this long-winded bolt that's also apparently holding the alternator on. I'm sorry if you can't see what I'm doing. But, thing runs down the road good. No, something else that I noticed it the other day. I thought it was because it was cold, and I haven't looked into it yet. That's something else I got to look into. First to second shift, actually it shifts gears fine under normal driving habits. I didn't need that bolt anyway. However, if you get on her, you start abusing any, it does not shift into third gear. Well, so that's something else I'm going to have to look into. Well, I had this thing sitting there running about 5-6 minutes. Uh-oh, I dropped it. Bolts on the ground, I see that. But getting this back up here, it is hung on something. I think the bolt hole lined up with something. Now it's half, I mean, I got it off the back of the head, but now it's giving me issues. I got it. It's this thing here. I'm not really sure. Let me kick the camera. I'm not really sure what it's for. They're on, like I said, the Gen 3s also. Only got one bolt, but it pins into a bolt head. I've left them off before. I'm not really sure what they're for, to be honest with you. Okay, now that that stuff's out of the way, can I even reach back here and feel the oil sending unit? Not yet.
Well, I can feel it. It's a lot further back here than I remember it. Wow, it's a long way back here. I was hoping I could get to the bolt that holds this plastic cover on. Because I can kind of reach it, but it's kind of deep. Kind of deep well. Let me look at something here. Let's see here. And I'm not sure this is going to work either, but let's find out. Got a call from my machine shop and said that the guy that used to have a salvage yard outside of town has 5 LS cores he was wanting to give to the machine shop. Well, the machine shop, like I said, he's in his 70s. He's not big on these Gen 3, Gen 4s. And he said he's got 3 5.3s and 2 6-liters that are basically cores, and said if I could just show up, I could have them. So, this weekend, I might be going and getting them. I don't know yet. Depends on what's going on this weekend. Well, now my socket's stuck. Let me fight this for a minute. I'll be back. I give up on trying to get that plastic deal off there. It just wasn't working. So I did manage to reach back here and get the wire off the center. A lot of good. I don't think that's going to do me, but these things are pretty good size. It's 1/16. So I'm going to try to get this back here on it, and I'm sure I'm going to regret that because I don't have my ratchet on it. But see if I can even find it. The problem isn't getting it out. It's trying to line that thing back up with a hole you're not going to be able to see. I'm definitely on it. So I forgot my longer ratchet. I'm not sure that's even going to do me any good. We'll see. I'm not even sure I can get back on it. Wait a minute. Oh man, I think that's matter of fact I know it is. That's that's not gonna work. We want Luna. I'm not a food guy, you know better than that. All right, let's try half inch this time. Don't lock the camera around. I always have to have an audience when I'm doing something. And there are always neighbors' cats. Oh, man. think I'll make a difference. You know when we'll be able to turn that. Well, I tell you, I'm sure there's videos out there of showing guys how to, they're taking this off. Luna, hitting the camera. But I just don't see how you're going to do this without pulling your hair out. I'm getting carved up, and Luna, get off of the tripod. Yeah, I know. Anybody need a cat? She's a pretty cat. Yeah, I know. Anyway, I'm going to do something different here, and I don't want to pull that intake manifold off there, but I just don't know. So I'll bring you back when I come up with some decision. All right, I give up. I managed to get a adapter from 1/2 inch to 3/8, and I managed to get a shorter extension on it, but I can't get the swivel on it. I can't get a ratchet on it. And like I said, I know it can be done, guys, but I have arthritis. I'm in my 50s. I'm working around, and whatever GM was thinking with this strut and that brace, I cannot physically get back in there and keep contorting my wrist around in such a way to get to that, so I give up. It's honestly easier to pull the intake manifold in my book than it is to try to fight that. So I've already got the alternator off, got the air box off. I know there's other ways to do it, guys, but I physically cannot keep bending over like that trying to wrap around that thing. So why we couldn't put a heavier spring on the hinges and not have the strut rate? The Gen 3s don't have any of that stuff. I don't know what. I'm not sure why they did that, but it doesn't make any difference. I'll unhook the battery, and I'm just going to pull the intake manifold, and there's probably a lot of videos out there on that. I know I told you when we first started this segment that I was going to do, minute for minute, play by play on this, but I'll leave the camera running if you want to see how to do this. But when I did that Yukon, I actually had the front bumper off of it, and it made it really nice to work on because you had that steel ledge there to kind of step up on or lean on or whatever. And I do have to pull this bumper off because I think there's a light out on the headlight, and I think you have to pull the bumper to get the headlight out. But I'm really not in the mood to do that today, so I'm going to have to work around this. And anyway, guys, that's all I've done so far. I haven't unhooked fuel line. The only wire I've unhooked so far really is the one for the throttle body again, and one injector. I wanted to see how hard those were. These are actually a little easier to get off than the one on that that 07. Somewhere between 07 and 08, they must have made another change, because I've already seen some things that are a little different between that Yukon and this. It's just 1 year difference. I'm already seeing some differences. And one is the plug-ins for the injectors. They have a little green deal that slides down, and then you push the button, it came right off. I really kind of fought those other ones on, but I don't know. And that's how easy it was. That's the second one pulled. Anyway, we're going to deal with this. And one thing I told you that that's going to bring you back on, and I'll explain it later if I even put that video out. There's my Ziploc bag with a zip tie around it for the oil cap. So apparently one day we lost this. Instead of going to AutoZone and getting one for 10 bucks, it was easier to go in the house and dig around and find a Ziploc bag and a zip tie to put everything together. Don't even get me started. I do have a new cap. Going to go on it today. But this is some of the things you run into when you buy other people's stuff. So, all right. I'm going to grab my concrete block I was standing on. And I hope you can see what I'm doing. She bumped the camera. The cat did. And it's too bright out here now to see what's going on. So, all right. Let's get this started. I always try to put the nuts stuff back on, bolts back in where I got them, unless it's pretty apparent what they are. And even sometimes I do, it's still in. you don't have much. Yeah, stuff just crumbling away. You don't have much movement on this stuff, and it is kind of a normal thing. Yeah, I've got to take that loose. This is the mount for that top engine cover, but it holds these two wire looms in the where you can't get them out from the intake without. You can, I suppose, if you tried hard enough to break something, but let's go in and get my release tool for the fuel line. I'm gonna relieve a little pressure on it, and then basically, they're not hard to get off. It's just that the gaskets, if you have to replace the gaskets, like I said, I have an extra set. Those things are almost $50, $45–50 for a set of gaskets for these, and with 200,000 miles on them, you can bet they're not in the best of shape. And although I don't think I got a very big vacuum leak, if I have any at all, because I'm not getting any codes for any unmetered air, which is something you always have to look for. You get a code and it says like something, it's running too lean or running too fast. I'm not talking about like O2s. I'm talking about anything in the map part of it. There's always that possibility that she's pulling air somewhere around intake or a hose or something like that, and you still don't always get those. That's all that bracket is. It just holds that engine cover on, but it also holds these down. Okay. Honestly, the passenger side, besides them two other injector lines, they're real. This side's actually really easy to get to. This side has stuff like this this purge garbage going back to the fuel tank. I can't remember how I unhooked that last time. It's got a wire harness to it, which I just unplugged, and it has this thing. There's a way to unhook this without destroying it. I just have to remember how to do it. It's just basically got little plastic doodads that hold it. Ouch. That's still hot. Remember if you push on that. Yep. Ow. Has a little release on it. And you snap it back in. It makes it. Did that actually do me any good? No, I don't think it did. Because I need the other one undone, not this one. Unless I can unhook that. No. Yeah, I guess it can, because that is replaceable. No, there's a way you can click on that. Get this injector wire out of the way. Well, I say that, and now this one. All the rest of them, there it went, jeez. All the rest of them were easy. It's a good idea to wire these injector lines if you don't, for sure, what's going on. The majority of the time, these things will almost fall, when you put the harness back on, it'll almost fall right back into the place, the way it was. And, but it's probably a good idea to mark where everything goes. The wiring harness itself, they only plug in one way, except the injectors. They all plug in the exact same way. So it's not like you can cipher that out. I know there's a way to release this thing. Seems like you reach down with a screwdriver, which I bet I have. That's way too big. Yeah. I got it. You can't be too abusive with the plastic tubing there. And don't forget how that routes, because it's easy to get it wrapped up the wrong way, and then it's kind of a booger. Okay, where are we at now? It's really funny. I had no trouble getting up. This one's on the other side. But against the angle I'm pulling them out, I cannot get those to release. And again, I think it's because I just can't get a good grip on them. I really don't want to take a tool to them, so I don't want to. I hear busting plastic in my future. I know I'm going to be in your way. They'll release, but boy, I got to get on them hard to get them to release. I mean, obviously you don't want them to fall off there, but I also noticed this morning when I started up, the alternator wasn't charging, and I thought, well, that's odd. It's all, you know, I've noticed. Of course, I pay attention to all the gauges. Thanks, train. I noticed it wasn't charging. I just pulled the alternator off from the back wire, the main power wire. It's got the 10mm nut on it. It wasn't tight at all. Which I've done that before myself, left that thing loose. Alright, this isn't working either. Now I can get the it's gonna fight me to the end, guys. I'm gonna end up rolling off this thing and end up in a wad on the ground. Well, the first two injector wires were easy. Third one was mediocre, and I can't get any of the rest of them off here, so I'll bring you back when I get those off.